Alright, welcome back to Map Gaming. We're playing Timberborn Rising Danger Episode 4 on Hard Mode. So first things first is we're in the Leathertail capital and we're going to reassign some beavers so we can get our beavers effectively working for us. We are currently in a drought, so there's no need for us to be pumping water, but we do need to be moving materials from one place to another just so that each place is sufficiently stocked. So yeah, we need to make sure that that is also taken care of. I did, before this episode started, I did take care and kind of added a few more things. One, first things being first is that I did the math real quick. I didn't do the math until this episode, but the first thing is the math. We can build 8 houses, which will give us 24 beavers per village. And once we get 8 houses, we may end up with a little bit more, but it will keep our population around 25 beavers. I also came in and we added a couple of storage logs or storage posts for like food and other things that we're building. I did decide that this upward area is going to be more for our science, so because we're going to have a lot of excess beavers there, so I felt like science was the best way to do that. I also went in and we added some medical beds just in case some beavers do get hurt up here. It'll just help us out in the long run to already have those built. Now what I did do is in this whatever the district settings is, I hit the X button, and then the stuff that we were needing, I made sure that it was implemented so it was on import as needed if it's an item that has grown in the district or the village, and then if it isn't, then I made it on import only, so that way each district is either helping or obtaining something that they have or do not have. We're going to play through this episode and hopefully we'll see that work efficiently. I'm still playing around with this. I've never really messed a whole lot around with districts. I've just only had the one and then we've gone from there. So hopefully I've set this up right and we'll be able to do this and get everything moving the way we need it to. And I went over here and I added another water drop-off point so that we can make this area green, and the idea is to once again plant some trees up there so that we can have a multitude of trees coming in, because right now planks being turned into gears is a kind of a problem and all that. So hopefully we're able to then transport water from District 2 into the capital. Just because the top district is having a limited area of where they can draw water from. I'm also trying to keep the happiness at a positive rate so that everybody's happy, they work more efficiently and all that stuff, and we get boost from it. So we're probably going to start adding a couple of extra little things in there to get beaver happiness up. That's going to be also something that we're focusing on throughout this playthrough, so to keep each little village a little bit happy with some decorations and things that they can do when they're not working to the bone. So there's that. We need to make sure that we have a beaver in the forester area over here, just so that when these oaks get cut down, we're replanting them. For the time being, that's probably going to be our number one food stock, or our wood stock, is those oaks, just because they give us so much. So once again, always going to be having the trouble of moving beavers around, and it's going to be a constant flow of moving them from one job to another, just because if I don't think with the limiting number that we have, we're not going to be able to leave beavers necessarily in a certain job just because of problems like that. only having 25 beavers kind of limits what you can and can't do. So obviously we're going to come through here, and I got to get rid of all the greenage. It bothers me, so we need to make sure it's clean, and then that'll also help kind of, I guess, in my head, it narrows down where the beavers need to cut. And yeah, so then when we go to build trees, we're in more of control of if we're going to cut them down, if we're going to replant more, stuff like that, because I want the trees to be grown up before we start cutting them. That way we're giving our beavers an actual job to do instead of them waiting for trees to be cut down and then not having a lot to deal with. So obviously with 25 beavers, we're going to have those guys sit there. We're going to be running as few as possible, just because, like I said, we gotta manage our population, and having a village have 25 is somewhat of a problem. By the wood stock, I did add another storage unit for gears and planks. It felt like the best place for it. Obviously right now we got a little bit of overkill on workers, so I guess it would be a good time to kind of boost up our building force, just so that we can get the water drop off area over here built up, and that way we're able to grow some trees over there as well, and that'll probably be a more active forest. But we also have to remember District 2 is pretty much going to be our farmland. I'm hoping to expunge the trees out of this area and just strictly have farmland. So District 2 is going to be a farming district. If you have names for the district, leave them in the comments. Just remember, this District 2 is going to be more of a farming village. So if you got a name, let's try to make it somewhat of a farming something or other. But yeah, as this drought goes on, we need to make sure that we keep an eye on the water. I'm going to activate this pump just so that we have water coming in. We have enough carrots to sustain that population, so we might as well just let them roll off of that. And obviously down below we have in District 2 we have enough carrots being grown to salvage this area. Now, I was thinking before I started this episode, eventually what I'd like to do is I'd like to wall this off so we could turn this maybe into a forestry area and have District 1 growing trees for whatever reason. But in order to do that, we need to go on the bottom level 2 up or 3 up, and then on the top level go 1 up, just to keep the water out from spilling in, because once it spills in, it's going to take forever for it to actually get out. So that's also a future project. That's not something we're going to be tackling anytime soon, just for obviously resource reasons. We don't necessarily at this current time have the resources to kind of obtain that kind of whatever project, but that will be a future project that we do attempt to try to do. And I think we'll be able to do it. It's just we need to get the metal so we can get the barriers down, and then obviously after that, then a buttload of wood. You're probably looking at 1,000 pieces of wood just to get that going. I don't know what District 1 is going to specialize in other than gaining science points, because at this point in time we're really limited on the amount of space that we have for District 1 until we get that wall built that they can do, because we're going to have to keep them at that top level to keep them safe from bad water, because it will grow up to that second level. It hasn't gone above that, but maybe we need a long enough bad tide before it to grow up. I'm not really quite sure, but we'll kind of see. And with all these water dumps that we got going on, that's just another problem we're going to have to solve, and we're going to be like I've done in so many of my other playthroughs, where we're going to be moving beavers around to make sure that we keep that water level up high, especially during bad tides and droughts, because this is going to be the way that we actually get keep the greenage going, so we're able to grow. I'm going to add another water pickup thing to this area, for the reason of right now this is probably our best source, or best residual source that we have, especially during droughts and bad tides, to actually get water. And having to supply all these water dumps with water, we're going to need a lot, because we haven't even reached the max bad tide and drought that we're going to go through, which is 30 days. So we need to make sure that, one, we're able to obtain enough water to, one, water both districts, keep them going, and keep the fluid dumps going, because if we don't do that, then there's really no hope. So until we figure out a way to divert bad water and keep it out of our drinking sources, so we can maybe fill up that fish bowl, then that's kind of where we're stuck at. I'm just making sure that everything's to my liking as far as that, because like I said, I have serious doubts whether or not I set that up correctly, and if I didn't, put that in the comments. I'm still learning on making new villages, so need to keep that up. We're going to we got the science. Let's just go ahead, get a tapper shack, because at this current point in time, we're not cutting down these pines. They're more just sitting here collecting dust, or in our sense, resin. So we might as well get a beaver to kind of collect that, to help, future proof, because eventually we're going to need those planks that have the I call them fairy logs. Eventually we're going to need fairy logs. If we want the upgraded pumps, they need fairy logs. So it only makes sense for us to have something like that kind of already being collected, especially if we're not using the trees. There's really no point in us not using them for their secondary sources, if that makes any sense. Great. All right, so drought's over. We're going to have to depopulate or move our workers around again, so that we're actually ready for work, because bad tides and droughts are the times that we like to take off. And so yeah, time to move beavers from job number 1 to job number 2. That way we get the resources we need, because obviously the first resource and the most important resource that we have is water. So getting refilled up on that to make sure that we're ready for whatever bad tide or drought hits us next, and then making sure that second pump gets built, because we will need that. I think that covers everything, and we're looking good on beavers who have jobs and the lack of jobs, so that'll work out pretty nicely. And we got a nice little power source going over there. It's very finicky, because obviously we're trying to rely on the wind. Not a fan of that. Yeah, it's probably time to play these to get these going, in order to kind of boost up our population. And since we're in the middle of a good tide, we might as well do that, just so that we can get kind of a little bit of beaver power and a few extra jobs that we can start moving beavers around. And like I said in the beginning, I really want to focus on making sure each village has a couple of things that the beavers can do after, you know, nighttime falls. Because we might as well try to make these beavers as happy as possible. And I think it's a cool, I'm not going to call it an achievement, but like a cool thing to do to try to achieve the highest happiness rating we can. Because normally I don't start trying to make my beavers happy until like way later in the playthrough, after like everything's been set up. We have plenty of everything that we need, wood, food, all the other stuff. It's more of a secondary thought. So I thought in this playthrough, while we're trying to keep everything small, we might as well work on also keeping the beavers happy. That pretty much sums that up. What else do we need? What else? Alright, we're good there. We got one beaver that we have a job that's open, and we need to make sure that the water pumps are set a higher priority, so when we go from good tide to bad tide, they get drawn to here, because I don't think, other than collecting food, that there's anything more important than getting that. And that looks to be where he was drawn from, was the district crossing. So that being said, that water's full. We need a beaver over here. Yeah, that'll be a good one. That's full. We can get him back. That'll work out nicely, yeah. So let's get that dump going so we can get a few trees planted so we're ready for whatever. I'm just hoping, I don't think during a bad tide that the trees will reach over there. I'm really hoping they won't reach over there, or the little tiger stripes. But in the action of preserving our capital, it might be in our best interest to put another water source, because we have plenty of extra beavers and it won't hurt to get that going, because if they have water, then we're good. And then I'm hoping the excess will go to District 2. If it doesn't, then it sucks, but that's just something we'll deal with. We're going to put these two houses here. I'm going to pause them because we don't need the workers, but those are going to be placeholders for future, because like I said, I did the math. I mean, it's very simple math. So now we have 8 houses there. We can put one more house in District 2. Awesome. A drought's approaching. That should be relatively easy to handle and deal with. I'd want to say the best place to go, if we could build a pathway over there, then we could get metal to District 1 and we could have 2 district crossings. But this is looking to be probably the best place to put power, is in that little canal. And then, because good tide, bad tide, that'll flow. That'll give us what we need. And then we can send all the wood, which we're growing from the farm, up there. And then we can get rid of the industry there. And District 1, I don't think is going to have a whole lot of need for extra things. At least I'm hoping. But then we can stop the water once we make District 3, put a blockage here, and then we'll have access to metal. And then once we have access to metal, then we can then start building a few extra things like bad water sources and stuff like that, and get that going. So that's kind of my idea, is to maybe possibly up there where that hole is, to kind of build District 3 and have it be mainly just an industrial level that flows together. And we can get rid of the planks and the gear workshop up here, or keep them, who knows. I mean, it gives our beavers something to do until I figure out kind of a lazy job for them to do. Yeah, let's take you away because you're full and you're full. You're empty. We need to make sure that everything's a higher priority for you guys, just so when I am pause, you also get a job. No need to have this tree cutter, so we're going to move this lumberjack to this spot, and then we're going to plant a whole mess of pine trees. Now I'm thinking about it, we're going to place the pine trees, but it might have been in our best interest to do like chestnuts, just because if we're not going to use these, then we could potentially have chestnuts, have a chestnut picker, whatever. I'm just thinking in terms of food. Might go back to that idea. We'll put a pin in that idea. Because, I mean, it's working so well for this little grove right here. Once we get the tapper shack up and going. But until then, we'll leave pine trees. It's a good source of wood. But, what else do we need? I mean, logs we're doing pretty good on. Tapper shack, it needs a couple more planks. Planks are something we're struggling with because our gears are taking all of it. No. Okay, pause, get that going. Sorry, squirrel. We gotta react real quick so we don't drain all of our water down before it's due time, so we continue growing and getting all of those resources. But what would be interesting is if we could put a forester here. I don't know why. Maybe it's too... Yep, it goes into the overhang. But if we place one down here... I don't know why that doesn't work. Maybe because, like, if a beaver's up top, he'd actually go into the overhang. Alright, so we're going to move this right here. Place that down. Obviously, we need to put a path in. Put a path there. And then we're going to cover all of this. Let's get rid of these. But we're going to cover all of this in trees. And even though, like, during good and bad tides, this place is going to flood, right now we're in a drought. So, theoretically, and we have 15-ish days, so, I mean, theoretically, we should be able to grow all of these pine trees and harvest them in this drought period. And if we do that, that just gives us a little bit of boost on wood. It gives District 1 a boost on wood, and then District 2 doesn't have to send them wood. I mean, to me, it makes sense. So, we'll play him. I know we're in a drought, but let's try to keep all of our areas hydrated. Let's move... No, everything's looking good. Alright, so the next one will be the farm dump site first, because we have what we need, because we have food over there. The only thing that sucks is that it doesn't cover that back spot. But let's get moving up here so we can kind of settle in District 3, or we're sending our scouts out there to kind of test the waters. We're going to put some lumberjacks up here, that way we can come in and start clear cutting all this tinder before we move in there, and that'll give us a little bit of extra wood that we're not having to rely on stuff that we're growing on. Yeah, that'll work. No, it should be fine. And then we can get rid of that greenage, and that'll get us one step closer to actually building over here to the metal. Now, I'm not really 100% sure on how many districts we're going to end up having, because some of them might be rather large. But we could make a good water source here, block that port, and then once it fills up, it drains into here. But of course, all right, so it's open, so we'd have to make a beaver canal and kind of have that flow instead of going into the map, off the map. We'd have to have it come into the map. But that's also a future problem. We can worry about that a little bit later. Obviously we're not harvesting a whole lot because our harvesting beavers aren't at full capacity. We have a bunch of other beavers at other jobs. Like I said, having 25 beavers is that's going to be a challenge. We're definitely pushing the envelope with this one. So, but if it's not challenging, it's not fun. So it's a good way to challenge you and see what you can make of it. And it definitely pinpoints moving beavers around instead of keeping them at their current jobs. So I think it's time that we maybe add a rooftop terrace to this one. Obviously we have to put it on top of a house, and the only place I can think about putting it is right there. So we're going to go ahead and buy the ladders, go ahead and build them. Obviously it's a lot of planks, but I mean, it'll make the beavers happy, and I mean, it's worth it, right? Like, they should be happy in it and all that fun jazz. All right, so we're gonna build a staircase right here to help kind of get that going, and then we can add if we need more. It doesn't necessarily mean anything, but yeah. So I had a problem with my recording, so while solving that, I did add a hammock so we can get this going. We have those being built. That's great. Waiting on planks, and we're needing planks. So once we get the planks, we'll have this sorted. They'll be a little bit happier to have that. We are moving them around. All right, we can pause you and play you so that we don't lose all of this. Let's make sure all that's not going anywhere. Still working on being built over there. Not necessarily concerned about that because we have other things that we're trying to focus on. Let's go to District 2, so make sure that we're looking at the correct numbers here. Sesame seeds are coming in nicely. I did add more people over here so that we could get that going, and so they can collect all of this, because we got potatoes, sunflowers, and grilled potatoes, so we're moving those quite nicely. Let's knock all this out because I don't need my whole map to be green. There we go. Do we have a tapper shack? Okay. Where does the resin go? I think the resin goes in these. So we'll place that there. Resin. Place that a little bit of as a high priority so we can get that. Because I mean, while we're growing these trees, we might as well collect the resin. That just makes sense. Let's go down here and let's get all of this, make sure that's all green, as well as those. And then once those come in, then we'll start worrying about that. Right now we're not getting power, so obviously that's going to hinder other things. We'll probably put maybe, I mean, what do we need for this? We need metal. So we can't do that yet, but this would be a perfect place to put a gravity battery just to help this go. Obviously, we're going to have issues when it comes to water sources here, just because as long as it's a good tide or bad tide, we would be building. But until then, we're going to kind of struggle just a little bit. Let's... we can't place that right there because of that. Let's flip. Nope, I like it like that. And we're gonna just place 2 right there just so that we can have access to these. Right now I'm gonna place those at low work rates because we don't necessarily need those. Oh, play you, pause you, and then oops, there we go. Get those 2 going. Think we should have enough water, hopefully, to sustain all of our beavers for this time period. I'm really hoping we will. If not, we can start drawing water. We might need to build... We might need to build 1 more of these. And we'll do that. Something like that. Because right now, this village, District 2, is basically supplying most of the food, most of the water, obviously all the trees. So everything's coming from down there. So we need to make sure that we are well stocked down here. This is the working class. This is the lazy and rich class, I guess you could call. So, what are we looking like? We got 2 open beavers there. I mean, all we could really do is, I guess, technically put them in. Alright, so that's the way we want it. So then these 3 will turn off when we need pumps. So much going on. Alright, so we got the resin now. We have nothing to do with the resin, but we have the resin now. Alright. 5 days. They got 12 days until they die, so we're good there. You can be paused, go do something useful. Let's click on this one to, okay, so we got 300 water, almost 400 water to last us that long. Should be feasible. And let's see how we're doing here. Rooftop terrace, that's +7. Alright, so we're doing good there. How are we coming with that? That'll take us a minute because everything's being built up here. Excuse me. Let's get that going so then we can start transporting a little bit of loggage. Let's get storage. We might as well put this big one here because we have all these trees one day going to be cut down, as well as everything that we're about to cut down from up there. Builder's hut. We can do a hauler's hut, which I feel like would probably be somewhat helpful. We might as well put that here because most of the haulers are going to be... So you do this. Oh, so this is like a double... Wonder how that's going to work with this job set then. Because this is connected. We're going to pause you. And we'll pause you. Stressful times. Okay, so we're building this up. I need to know we got one extra beaver. All right, logs and obtain. Yeah, I know we got no haulers yet, but we will shortly. We need 4 more planks and then we'll be good to go. Alright, well, I like the way this happens. So this isn't actually a bad setup. And that gets everything. Okay, so we're good there. We just need this last one. That'll be built there. I think our workers are more focused on this one. But we only need 2 logs for this, so that'll definitely help. Can't really help that this needs to be... We need one more plank. That hasn't been built yet. That definitely hasn't been built yet. I think for the time being, once we start getting this cut down, I'm going to start going in for power and building. I want to see how many we can fit. That's 1. Everywhere's 1. So we'd have to come along here. We place that there. And yeah, so we'd need to basically add... Yeah. Alright. So we'll come over here, get access to metal so we can start making the... Where is it? This bad water thing, because we need the metal to do that. So for the time being, I'm going to unlock this for future prep. And we'll start gathering all this stuff so then we can ship it over here and then we'll be aces on... And I'll unlock this as well. And we need the tapper shack, which... Or the wooden shop, yep. So I'll unlock that as well. Alright, we'll do 2. That'll work. And we got a little less than 2 days. And then that will definitely help. I wish we were getting more sunflower seeds. Why aren't we getting more of those? Let's play you. Obtain. Yep, I did that. I'm gonna prioritize these as haulers because I want to make sure that we're doing all that we need to be doing. Those guys can continue what they're doing. These four, we're going to do haulers. Yeah, that'll work. Let's play. Let's back you down to 1. Back you down to 1. Get all those going. Where are you at? We probably need to play you. Okay, you're good. We got one there. You're starting to pump again. You're full. You are almost full. That's the next one. Alright, get all those going. I like it. Let's look at District 1. Alright, so we're gonna have to go down in layers. So play. We'll pause you. Because depending on what happens next, we're going to need more. I want to click on this. Alright, so how many do we have in there? How many do okay, so we can one that, and that'll balance everything else out. And this one. Alright, so let's go over here because I think we need 4 extra beavers that aren't doing anything. And once this last tree gets cut down, then I can pause him. Once he decides to go and plant another tree. And then we can move him over here. Alright, we're already collecting trees, so we can actually pause you right off the bat. You already planted, so now we're down to 2. And that works out very nicely. Actually, we can probably go down to 1, and then that'll fix, oh, I don't, yeah, food, water, it's all needed. Oh, that's not built yet. Where are we waiting on? Planks. Obviously. We're always waiting on planks. But yeah, I want all of this to be gutted so that when this water rises up, we're good to go. And it's short, fast. It gives our beavers something to do down here, and then yeah, we're good to go. How are we doing? All right, we got some sunflower seeds. Definitely have more carrots than we know what to do with. All right, let's actually make a line. So we can actually help these guys get up there. Let's see where an injured beaver is. Alright, he's injured, but we got medical tents up here. Slowly but surely. We can't do anything about the contamination yet. Where's that at? I feel like that's well-being. Yeah, we need the herbalist, and obviously we need paper. We don't have paper, so it's kind of, that's where that's at. So we'll wait here. We'll keep an eye on this. Whoa. All right. So we're starting to, it's at the level. All right, we got water being sent and grilled potatoes being sent. Gears, planks. All right, good deal. Going back up on our water. It might, where are we at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So we can build one more house down here, and then this will be tapped out. And we have a bad tide approaching. Fantastic. All right, so we are looking like we're going to be in a little bit of trouble. That's full. We need to make sure this is full. Pause this. And we need to play that one. We need to make sure all of our water's full, because I'm almost guaranteeing you we are going to be dealing with some catastrophic events here. I see that in our near future. Yep. And we might be at the point where we need to add another hold on. Seriously? Alright, so we need obviously a space there. That will help with that. Alright, so we're getting very close to actually needing this to be paused. I want to keep an eye on this because we got to make sure, because we're about to have to send our beavers up top, because yeah, we don't need any more beavers being poisoned. And then building this one will help, because I was told in a previous video that we need 3 plank builders to 1 gear shop. So we're going to see how well this is accurate. And hopefully that will just, this will help with our plank situation. Oh, I did it. Yep. Let's make sure we pick that stuff up. Alright, hurry up, beavers. Hurry up, beavers. Time's closing in. There we go. Get all them out of there. Now we're working. Now we're playing with fire. Let's add the 3. Actually, we're gonna, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Alright, good deal. And we're gonna let this grow out just a little bit to grow back. We're starting to, we'll fill that up. And we'll prioritize that by haulers. How are we doing? Okay, we got 1 extra job. Alright. Let's see what All right, you know what? Actually, we're gonna end on a little bit of a cliffhanger. So if you like the video, hit the thumbs up button, all that fun jazz. Tune in next time and we'll see kind of what happens with this, because bad tide's gonna knock out a lot of this. I know that much, so we'll see how that goes down. But between the two of them, we got 1,000 water here, we got 100 water over here. Might as well pause all of this. Just so we have that ready for next time. But yeah, leave a like, comment, all that fun jazz. Think about subscribing, and then until next time, I will catch you. Oh, excuse me, hiccup. I'll catch you guys next time. Later.